Longtime listeners and not so longtime listeners know there's nothing I enjoy more than talking about women's basketball in Jersey. Coquese Washington, head coach at Rutgers, is here to do just that. Enjoy, everyone. Locked On Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday to you and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal. I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. Over 300,000 of you showed up in March alone. We are on track to break our all-time mark here in April. Again, really appreciate you showing up for us the way we show up for you 6 days a week. And of course, it is not just me, it is the incredible team across the board at the Next, where we have over 100 reported pieces every month on the past, present, and future of women's basketball. We had over 150 in March. It was a pretty crazy time, hence the madness. So make sure you go ahead and sign up. It's $9 a month, $72 a year, thenexthoops.com. It all just gets delivered to your inbox. Just this constant stream of coverage. And we have somebody in every WNBA market. It will continue. We will, of course, be covering college, which is year round now. Coquese Washington joins me. And Coach, how different is your April than it was in this profession?
This was the busiest April I've ever had. I mean, it was nonstop with the portal, and immediately after the season, we started having visits, started having kids on campus, the phone calls, and you're monitoring the portal, and new kids are going in, and so it was pretty insane. And I think I speak for all the rest of my coaching colleagues and talking to them. It was one of those things where now we're getting to May and it's like we can kind of come up for air.
Right.
But it was it was crazy, the amount of work. But, again, I'm one of those people that I'm doing something that I love, and even the hard days and the crazy weeks and all that, I'm still in the trenches of women's basketball, and I absolutely love it.
And it's huge. And so we're going to talk about segment one. We cannot leave this season without talking about the growth, which is important for folks to understand, especially when we drill into the numbers. And we'll get into that. It included a run in the WNIT all the way to the Elite Eight there.
Yeah.
In segment two, we're going to be talking about the roster over turnover, because there are some really compelling pieces that are coming here to Rutgers to join some of your returnees. And then in segment three, we will talk about Destiny Adams. We will talk about JoJo Lacey, about some players who made their mark and in JoJo's case, signed a training camp deal, playing potentially for a spot in the WNBA. And Destiny, who we've talked about before, somebody who clearly has pro opportunities as well. So getting into all of that, but I just want to set the scene for listeners who may not know. So you just completed a season. It's third season at Rutgers, and it's easy to look at one-loss records. And, that's the top line. I know it's a bottom line industry in a lot of ways. And you are ahead of where you were in seasons 1 and 2 on that, including a postseason run. My biggest thing is I looked at season 1, and your offensive rating was 86.9. Defensive rating was 102. So you had the net rating of minus 15.1. It's year 1. You're starting, you're building. Mm-hmm. Year 2, it's minus 9.9. Your offensive rating got better. Your defensive rating got better. Season 3, it's minus 4.1, 93.6 offensive rating, 97.6 defensive rating. And especially when you drill down further into where you were your last 5, your last 10 games, CBB Analytics is our friend there that allows us to do it. It got even better as the year went along. So as you sort of analyze where the program is and how you're building, personnel-wise, there's turnover and there's trying to figure that out as you go. But do you feel as if systematically you're seeing that sort of the approaches that we talked about from the moment you got the job take hold?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to put the building building blocks in place. You have to put the foundation in place, and sometimes it takes a while for that to take hold. But when you start to talk about how we wanted to play and getting the pieces and the players that can be able to execute how we want to play, where year by year we're getting better in that. And one of the things, you start talking about stats and analytics. One of the things we were really happy with, and it's indicative of how we want to play, was we were number one in the Big Ten in transition offense. And that's big for us because we want to play fast. We want to be up tempo. And that's one of those things that allowed us to go in the transfer portal and sign some of the kids we signed because they saw the style of play. They were able to get past the numbers in terms of win-loss and look at, okay, this is a style of play that fits me. And so we were able to do that because we put the building blocks in place of how we want to play, and we're getting better year by year, and really confident and optimistic and positive that we will continue to see that kind of jump going into next year.
I mean, there are a number of new big names. You're bringing in people from winning programs as well. There's an interesting mix of skill set too that seem to complement a lot of the players who you are bringing back. But let's not lose sight too, for listeners, of the returnees, because sometimes that gets lost along the way. Take us through who you are most excited about, who's coming back, and sort of where that next growth is, whether it's Zakara Perkins or, I mean, the list is larger than people, I think, maybe realize.
Yeah. Well, number one, you have to start with our freshman, Zakara Perkins. And Zakara, that kid, man, I love what she did this year. Number one, she played every position on the roster at some point, from point guard. I mean, she finished the season as our starting point guard. Zakara is not a point guard, but she willingly played that position, got us an offense, she played the wing, she played the forward spot, she played the five sometimes. She was inside, she was outside. And so that just speaks volumes about her versatility. And that's something that we really like in our players, is versatility. So we can move pieces around, and we can be mismatches. We can match up with other teams. And so Zakara got great experience this year as a freshman, playing all over the court, learning how to lead. She's a natural leader. I mean, Zakara won't be quiet on the court even when you want her to, right? So, we were like, okay, well, if you're going to talk, you might as well say some things that are worthwhile and beneficial to everybody. And she just has a strong leadership, and she has a great work ethic. So I'm excited about where she's going to be next year when she has a full off season to get better. We get Antonia Bates back. This is going to be the first year actually that she's healthy. She played her freshman and sophomore year kind of on a bad knee, got the surgery, ended up having to miss the entire season, or the majority of the season. I think she played,
5 games.
But for all intents and purposes, she missed the entire season. But I'm excited about her coming back and being healthy and playing on a repaired knee. I think, it's going to be my first time seeing a healthy Antonia, and what she can do. Again, in terms of versatility, being able to play multiple positions, we're going to be really excited about what we get from those two. I think Janae Walker is going to have a big offseason. She's done a fantastic job this year of adjusting to the style of play, getting up and down the court. She's getting in incredible shape physically. She's lighter on her feet. I think her confidence is going to be heads and shoulders above where it was last year. And then, you have Kennedy Burke and you have Deja Young, and they are such tremendous culture kids, tremendous locker room presence. They give us so much in practice every day. Their work ethic, their love for our team, their love for their teammates. So the 5 of them returning, they are phenomenal young women. And they really hold the foundation for our program in terms of the culture. And then we get to add in our freshmen, the one freshman that we did bring in, Precious Wheeler. She's going to add size and versatility to our forward crew. So I like the six pieces that we're bringing back. And then when we talk later about the transfers that we add to them, it's just going to be, I think, a really, really fun team that we're going to have on the floor next year.
I mean, Wheeler's a Jersey kid. Antonia, I had the privilege of seeing in high school. So again, you know, this being a place where there's so much talent, the fact that you're keeping that talent home and building in the right way, which we're going to get into in segment 2. I got to get to break, but we're going to drill it down into that a little bit and then get into some of the transfers as well.
Okay.
I'm Howard Megdal with Coquese Washington from Rutgers. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Back after this, but first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Monarch Money. Did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? Well, Monarch Money makes sure that you don't have to wonder anymore. Between dining out and online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. But Monarch Money becomes your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com/code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Howard Megdal here, Locked On Women's Basketball with Coquese Washington, head coach at Rutgers. And the returnees, there were two things that really stood out for me, you know, and I'm glad you mentioned about Antonia Bates, who, you know, it's going to be so interesting to see her healthy again and an opportunity to perform at that next level, the way we saw her in high school. To me, the biggest thing from what we saw from Zakara was her ability to stretch the floor. And it felt like, and I went back and confirmed it, but it felt like more consistency with which she was hitting those perimeter shots, and even more becoming, the way Cheryl Reeve describes it, a willing shooter on a regular basis. You had the misfortune of having to kind of move people around a lot this year. Do you feel like, because of the numbers you've brought in for the folks we're going to talk about, you have a set idea of sort of where Zakara you think is most effective for you coming into sophomore year?
Yeah, I think we want to play her on the wing next year. And, you know, we've got some true point guards and we've got some true forwards down there. So I think we can put her and have her play on the wing and be able to still be a leader on the wing, you know, a facilitator from the wing spot. And then using her length defensively on the perimeter, because she got a lot better at being able to be impactful on the perimeter there. And like you said, she was able to stretch the defense, right? You know, her 3-point shooting, especially as we got through conference play, really, really improved. So I love the fact that we'll be able to continue to grow her in that space. She's working on her shot. And again, she's a hard worker. So I know she's going to be better and more confident shooting the ball next year.
And what you say dovetails perfectly with the players you brought in and sort of the skill set that you've got. And so there are 3 primary sets of skills that I feel like, and I'm sure is the way you kind of put the roster together, you wanted to reinforce. Having greater numbers inside obviously was significant, and there are several players who address that. You have now numbers in the backcourt, folks who can do both, folks who can shoot from the perimeter and folks who can bring the ball up the floor and run an offense, and several players who were able to do both. So just to kind of lay it out for our listeners, Precious Gem Wheeler, who you mentioned, is a freshman coming in to be a big. You also have, of course, Yassine Njai from UNC Greensboro, who's able to join you along with a pair of BC transfers. Now, Kayla Ivey is, to my view, somebody who's going to be more of your primary point guard coming up. Nene Njai is further wing big depth here as well. Am I seeing it right? Am I seeing sort of the pieces come together?
You're seeing it. We kind of went in the portal with kind of a three-prong approach.
Yeah.
We wanted to get some point guards, more than one.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to get centers. So, I've been here 3 years. We haven't really ever had a true point guard.
Yeah.
We haven't ever really had a true center. We've had forwards that we've played at the center. We've had guards that we, pushed over to the point guard. But we were like, we have got to get centers. We have got to get point guards, people that are on the team, and it's what they do, right? It's what they do, and then we'll coach them to be better at it and be great at it. And then we wanted to get some depth at that wing spot, at the forward, small forward, the 2, 3, 4 spot. We wanted to get some depth, length, athleticism, and so we feel really good coming out of April about our ability to have handled that, and having people playing in their kind of natural positions, and then complementing each other. That's a big thing for us in terms of recruiting. We want complementary pieces that give us versatility, but that also helps elevate each other, because when my game complements your game, then we can make each other better, and I think we were able to do that.
I think it's important, and it's just something that we really should address, which is figuring out, it's not just who needs to be in that locker room, but what the makeup is, and we learn sort of where to stay away from as well. And obviously what happened with Kiyomi McMiller coming in was something that becomes a multi-week story. It's something that, was, I'm sure, something you had to navigate within your locker room as well. I'm wondering sort of what your takeaway was from that. Undeniably talented, right? But what was your takeaway from that in terms of how the program is built, not built in this, very different era than we've ever seen before in college basketball?
Kiyomi is an incredible man. That kid can play. She can get buckets like no other. And having her on the team absolutely made this program, from a talent standpoint, it made it better. Now, the thing is, when you bring all of these pieces in, and so you always have that challenge of getting players connected. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen with Kiyomi. Not her fault, not my fault, not teammates' fault. Sometimes it just never quite comes together. And that's okay. And as I said, I don't know, in the year, one of the press conferences, we had some conversations and realized like it probably wasn't ever going to come together the way she wanted, the way we wanted. So, we gotta kind of go our separate ways. So the thing that you learn is, and the takeaways that you get is, it has to come together. And as we bring in these, six new players, we got an incoming freshman, we got Antonia coming back from injury, we got Zakara move into a different position. We have to get all of that to meld, and we'll do that work. And and in this era, it's a little more difficult to do that because when you recruit out the portal, Howard, you get to know these kids sometimes for 3 days, and then they're ready to come. So like Forrest Gump's mom said, you open a box of chocolates and you see what's in there, right? And so I feel pretty good about the ones we have, but it's all about laying that foundation of culture and playing together and wanting to be great teammates and wanting to be there for each other. And the more that you can have that kind of environment in your locker room, the better experience everybody gets to have.
And again, it isn't just a question of the locker room fit. There's also an obvious fit when you look at the talent, right? So even some of the folks who we didn't talk about yet, like Faith Blackstone, you bring her from Stephen F. Austin, somebody who's capable of working at both guard positions for you, along with Kayla Ivey, who comes over from BC. Lauren Swan is a dead-eye three-point shooter.
Yes.
The idea to have Swan in place, and so many of the possessions we'd see, you guys would have good offensive work and generate a good look, but there were some ceilings on the 3-point shooting. So you end up 30%, something like that from three. And now same process, building something different. Imani Lester, being able to bring her. I know you probably don't have starters in place yet, right? But like Imani Lester at K-State was a monster when she could come in there. And so the idea that you have her as a big, someone who Wheeler's didn't get to learn from, it feels less like a collection of players, which is easy to do, and more like a group that fits together. Like, as somebody who's done this for a minute, when you're looking at where a program's going, it's like you got to see sort of what's the roadway. And it feels like you have a roadmap here. Is that kind of your takeaway from all of this?
I'm so glad that you see that, Howard, because that definitely is what was our process. Like, it wasn't about stockpiling talent. Anybody can, well, I shouldn't say anybody, but, you can go out and go, I want to get the best, oh, she's talented and she's talented. But we really had a plan about how we want to play. We know how we want to look on game day. And so we have to get those pieces. We have to get those players whose skill set complements each other. So you have a Kayla Ivey, who's an incredible, her court vision is masterful. Her passing is so top notch. But you got to give her a shooter, right? Or you got to give her a post player that can catch and finish in traffic.
Right. So
you want to get Kayla Ivey, a kid who's got 160 assists by herself, to only 49 turnovers. She's top 3 in the nation in assist turnover ratio. Right. Well, you got to put players around her that can make plays, that can finish plays. And so, Kayla Ivey, Faith Blackstone was the first one we got. Yep. We were like, we need scoring. So we get Faith. We know she can get, she walk in the door, she can get 15, 20 points a night, right? And she shoots the 3 ball at a high clip. So what's the next thing you got to do? You got to give her a point guard. You got to give her somebody that can get her the ball. So you get Kayla Ivey, and then, you lose Destiny and China. So we got to get post play, and let's get some that, are a little taller than China and Destiny, right? So, we're able to do that. So I'm glad that you see that the pieces fit together, the pieces complement each other, because that was absolutely 100% what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I wish basketball season started tomorrow. I'm excited to see how it comes together. We're going to get to a break, and then we're going to talk about a couple of folks who are moving on and the mark that they have made here. I'm Howard Megdal. You are listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Wayfair, and spring is here, and that means it's home project season. My wife and I have these conversations trying to figure out, all right, what are we sick of living with? What are we looking to improve around the house? Whether you're refreshing a room or tackling a full renovation, thank goodness we are not, but Wayfair is the best kept secret for all things home improvement. They have opportunities, for kitchen cabinetry, for bookshelf space. I am an inveterate purchaser of books, always need more of those bookshelves. First place I go when I'm looking is Wayfair. Wayfair makes home improvement easy. Just get started now at wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Back here, segment 3, Howard Megdal, Locked On Women's Basketball, with Coquese Washington, talking about Rutgers and a couple of players who, I'll put it this way. Destiny Adams, we'll just start there. My father is a Rutgers alum. Destiny Adams is one of his favorite players to ever watch because of what she brought to the court. The numbers were eye-popping. I mean, when you have a game of 31 and 24, you'd think, well, that would be a game for the ages, but it was pretty routine for her. I think she was 26 and 13 in her final collegiate game. Just for her to come home and kind of help you build this program the way she did. Take me through what that's been like, and just the overall relationship that you built with her during her time coming back to Jersey and to Rutgers.
Yeah, Destiny and I have a really great relationship. She's one of those people that when she came back here, she needed to recover her love for the game. And she told me during the recruiting process, she was like, I just want to play like I did in high school. And I was like, okay, we can do that. And it was really a process of her learning how to do what she did in high school on this level, and the work that it took. And she did a phenomenal job of working with her position coach Neka and Mpali, and they just recovered her love for the game, and then stretched it. Added the perimeter play, added the 3-point shooting, added the leading the break, and being a facilitator. And Destiny and I just, being here and being with her family was important for her. It was really, really important for her. And I think that that helped her flourish. So, to all you New Jersey kids out there watching this, stay home. It's a great place to play and be with your family and play your game.
It certainly is a message I have given to many people through the years. As somebody who has stayed home in New Jersey myself, I certainly recommend it. I will say the thing that stood out for me, it's one thing to play as hard as you can when things are going your way. The moment from her senior year, and probably she doesn't want to think about it, but I really took away from it was that game against USC, which was a really rough one.
Yep.
And she shot 3 for 15, and it was uncharacteristic for her. And she just never stopped working. Last few minutes of that game, she is up and down the court. She is going after every possession. It didn't matter what. So yes, to your point about Jersey kids staying home, but also, boy, bringing that attitude is why, to my mind, she's going to have a pro career for as long as she wants. I was surprised and a little bit disappointed not to see her name get called on draft night, but somebody who did sign and is competing for a spot on the Mystics right now. It is so hard in this league, as you know from personal experience. But JoJo Lacey getting this opportunity. What did you see out of JoJo? What is it that allowed her to do what I feel like, and dating back to the Vivian years, we see so often with Rutgers players, doesn't get talked about enough. Find your way to get a shot in training camp or a 7-day with the league, and suddenly, oh, okay, this is somebody who we really need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think the thing that happened for JoJo this year was quite simply confidence. She got a lot of confidence in herself as a player, knowing what she can contribute. She became a very consistent and reliable 3-point shooter, and kind of stretched the floor. And then she was able to add to that the ability to go off the bounce, get to her pull up, get to the rim. But I think the thing about JoJo is she put a lot of work into her game outside of practice. She was in the gym getting up shots, and just learning that to believe in herself and to have confidence in who she is. And she was another one, both her and Destiny and our other seniors, China and Awa, as the season went on, they had a resilience and they set a tone for our team that the score doesn't matter, record doesn't matter. We are going to play hard and we are going to compete, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. And I think that was one of the reasons we were able to get in the postseason and go on the run that we did, because our seniors, they brought in there a mentality of we're going to fight and really allow the rest of the team to follow their lead in that respect.
The thing that stood out the most for me, and maybe this is more basic, but when JoJo had 6 3-pointers at Michigan, and she was just raining threes on that, because I know
JoJo had 27. Okay.
And we talked about it going into the year that she needed to become a more consistent 3-point shooter, but that's one of those moments where you just feel like, wow, you're seeing somebody's work paying off. And so I kind of want to end with that today, because and the way I've talked about it on the show is the wins are like when you open the safe, and you might have all the numbers in place but one, and the safe won't open. But it's that sort of last thing. It's a trailing indicator, not a leading indicator on this stuff. And I'm wondering for you, as you sort of think and look ahead into year 4, what metric are you using, in terms of, is it wins? Is it where this program goes? What do you want success to be defined at in year 4 here?
Well, I tell you, I love that analogy, that visual, because that's the first time I heard that, and I love it.
I appreciate it.
I do think that is exactly it. You're putting the numbers together so you can open it and then be able to, find the treasure inside. And I think that's where what we've been trying to do, these first 3 years. And I really do think we're gonna crack it open this year, and we're going to put ourselves in position, especially being in the Big Ten, to compete for a spot in the NCAA tournament. That's something that we would love to see happen this year. A lot of work to get there. A lot of, we got some pieces that we like. You gotta stay healthy. Things have to come together, but that would be something that we would love to see happen this year, and that's what we're going to work for.
Well, anyone who doubts you is making a big mistake, because you can see the progress, and especially if you pay attention, you can really see the progress. Coquese Washington, thank you for representing my state so well. Thank you to our listeners for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen every day. We'll be back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Tuesday.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.